Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Quo Vadis podcast, the Catholic podcast that helps to begin with the end in mind. We're back. We're back, baby. Woo!
That's a good Ric Flair woo there.
Thank you. I am Taylor, not a seminarian Geiger.
Did you get that this past weekend?
Oh my gosh, dude.
Even with the babies you were holding, they still asked you if you were a seminarian?
So we went to the priestly ordination on Saturday. We brought the whole family to it. It was wonderful. When we got there, Rachel and the kids sat down in the pew, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I walked away to go to the bathroom. And on the way to the bathroom, some woman stopped me and said, "Oh, excuse me, are you one of the seminarians?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I work for the vocation office. I'm married and have 2 kids." She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. Thanks." And she walked away.
That you were married with 2 kids?
That what?
She was sorry that you were married with 2 kids?
No, she was sorry that she made that mistake. And I was like, all right. I went to the bathroom, and I was like, man, every time I'm around the diocese for something, I get asked if I'm a seminarian. Every time. It's just perpetual, man. I can't
So what you're saying is that you're not.
I'm 100% not a seminarian.
Good.
I think I should wear like a big name tag that just says "not a seminarian" on it. Like, doesn't have my name on it, nothing like that. Just says "not a seminarian."
To their credit, though. Well, not to their credit, but in their defense is what I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of look.
How does one look like a seminarian?
I don't know. There's a look.
Father M,
there's a look.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, dress very well, aggressive hairline, or no hair at all.
There's no in between, huh?
There's really no in between. It's like, I guess which category I fell into.
No hair at all.
Yeah, no hair at all.
Actually, let's back up a second. First of all, hi, Father Adam. Good to have you back on the show.
Good to be back.
That's Father Adam Bradley. He's the assistant vocation director. He's also the director of the Kairos Year. I also want to call you assistant to the vocation director because of the office. And actually, one day when you were gone on vacation, a couple weeks ago now, I really wanted to take all of your business cards that are sitting outside your office and just write to the vocation director, like above on all of them. And Jenny thought I should do it, and she told me not. And then I decided I probably shouldn't do it because it sounded like a lot of work.
I love how you just like come and clean. Just
borderline
for
expensive.
Everybody.
But anyway, that's Father Adam. He's joining us again today. But let's talk about your hair. So currently, your head is shaved,
Yeah,
but
there is no hair.
I knew you when you were a seminarian, and you did not have an aggressive hairline, but you had aggressive hair because your hair was long, and surfer-like, and shaggy and blonde.
There's actually a funny story.
It was incredible.
There's a funny story behind that. So at that time, Father Schuster, the vocation director, he came up and he said, "Do you think that you should have long hair?" And I said, "I really I haven't thought about it."
That is so.
Yeah,
and
that's a very Schusterian question.
But the thing was, is like me in my hubris and youth told myself, I said, I'm not going to cut it unless I'm asked. And so he kept asking questions about it to like try to help lead me to the realization that cut your dang hair. But I wasn't. And he said, why don't you ask your chaplain or the guy who's in charge of your formation at the seminary whether you should have long hair? I said, okay. My chaplain was a Benedictine monk with a beard down to his waist. And so I sat there. I said, what do you think of my long hair? He goes, not much. What do you think of my beard? I said, no, not much.
Not much.
He said, like taking candy from a baby. That's easy.
He said, what brings up that question? I said, well, my vocation director told me to ask you about my hair and whether I should cut it or not. He goes, well, it's certainly not normal. If you compare yourself to the rest of the people here, everybody else looks relatively professional. You kind of look like a hippie from California. And I said,
you're a kid from Anago, Wisconsin.
And I said, yeah, that's true. He goes, you know what he's getting at, right? I said, yeah, but he didn't come out and ask me. He goes, well, that's between you and him. But as far as your hair goes, I couldn't care less. So I went up to Father Schuster and said, he couldn't care less.
So did you have the look of a seminarian then?
I mean, I dressed like one because I had to. We all had a uniform at conception. And
what was the uniform like?
It was just a polo shirt with the conception logo.
Seems kind of par for the course when it comes to uniforms.
And then khakis, dress, shoes, that sort of thing.
Wow. So apparently I dressed like a seminarian then. That's.
I mean, he nailed it though. It's like it's the hair and like you dress well. Like
that's all it is.
Yep.
Fascinating.
It's like even Yeah.
The glasses.
What? I think you're just describing a person at this point. This is becoming more obscured by the fact that you're just saying you just dress like you, I guess.
Yeah. Another telltale sign of the seminarian, which I'm actually like glad that this is a telltale sign, because I think it's something that's getting lost in our culture a little bit, is like they tend to be very polite. Like at times it comes off as like overly polite, but it comes from a good place within their heart, and I think it's something that we need to focus on.
Sounds like we're also borderline describing Mormon missionaries.
Except our guys wouldn't go door to door.
They're very polite, very helpful,
Well,
and they dress well and have a good, clean haircut. So there you go.
Glasses?
If they need them, question mark. I think that's usually why people wear glasses.
But one of the things, like Mormon missionaries all dress the same. Seminarians don't necessarily do that.
That's true, unless they're wearing a uniform, in which case, then by definition, I suppose they're dressing at least similar. So it's kind of
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, it's good to have you on, Father Adam.
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back in general here, Father Mark. It's good to see you. I don't think you introduced yourself yet. I mean, you don't ever really have to introduce yourself, but usually I introduce you. Then you make some kind of quippy remark.
Go ahead.
That's Father Mark. Hi, Father Mark.
Good day.
Good night. Going back to OG
No,
Australian
I just said
accents,
good day. I did not use the accent. You used the
okay,
accent.
I did. You're right. I think I just
said
associated
good day
with that.
because less people know when this is being recorded. If you say good day, it's just sort of
Generally speaking, I suppose.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
that's
what I
true.
used to say on relevant radio because they were taped back in the day.
Yeah.
So mass was in the morning, but it was
Sent out
in the evening.
Okay.
So you can't say good morning to the people,
Sure.
even though it
Good
is.
day.
You can't say good evening because it's not. So I used to say good day.
Good day. There you go.
Yeah.
It's general. I like it.
Yep.
It's very simple. How have you been?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. We had, as you said, the ordination.
That's like so exciting.
Yeah.
Another priest in the ranks.
Yeah.
Father Patrick Costello.
I know.
Yeah.
I had to, as I go around to the parishes on the weekend giving updates about where we're at, I had to correct myself because...
You always say deacon?
No.
Oh.
The number.
Oh.
I would say we have 67 diocesan priests active.
Scratch that.
68. Yeah. I corrected myself and yeah. So another one for the battle. Another one for the fight.
Do you feel a lot of pressure during those ordination masses, like for things to go smoothly and go well? Or do you not really feel that much pressure from your position of it?
Early on, yes.
Yeah.
But now not so
You
much.
kind of
Yeah.
you
Well, you
get
have the
it down.
rehearsal. The rehearsal
That's
is
true.
sort of
That
the
helps.
purpose of trying to make everybody at ease. But
What about at the end when you're doing your remarks?
Mm.
Like you gotta thank all the people. Do you have that
Mhm.
written down or do you have that memorized?
no, I have something in front of me, but
Okay, do
I
you?
just kind of
'Cause
briefly looked down.
I was gonna say 'cause I couldn't tell if you were looking down. I'm like, this dude's got that
good,
memorized.
good.
That is
That's,
impressive.
that's what we're shooting
That's
for.
impressive as heck, man. Like,
But of course, I forgot somebody. So,
Did
a
you?
group of, yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'll do it now. To the seminarian collection donors.
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
donations.
You know,
Absolutely.
So, but it's right. I should be. But
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
gotta
been
be
added
hard
to the
get all
list.
that down. Yeah. No,
But I do send the letters, and I sign most of them.
It's true. It's
So,
very true. Well,
we are grateful,
man, we are.
and we have the fruit of the prayers
Yeah,
and
we
the
do.
support
We
of
do.
the priest.
And for those of you listening, go listen or go listen. Go and sign up for the Fiat Prayer Society. It's
Yeah.
at gbvocations.org/FPS. Go sign up. It's free. No meetings, no dues. If you want to send money, we're not going to stop you. But I mean, it's I mean, technically speaking, there's no requirement for money there. But
Nope.
just your prayers. Just your prayers and
We need
commitment to it. Yes, we do. Most certainly do. Well, it's very good to be back. We had a little bit of a hiatus there because Rachel and I had the baby.
Because
Hey! So we had another baby.
Felicidades. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was like, I don't know what that means.
Come on. You haven't watched Nacho Libre. That's your fault.
I know. We keep
When he
going back to
baptizes
this. Yeah.
Esquelito. Felicidades. Anyway, sorry.
So
You'll find out one day.
I suppose. Although in principle now I feel like I shouldn't watch it just because, it's like it's novel. It's novel now at this point in my life. It's like people who haven't seen Star Wars, Like you just lean into it at this point. You just go for it.
That you haven't.
Yeah, you haven't seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
There's
Like,
a
give
huge
something to
difference
say.
between Nacho Libre and Star Wars, though. Like Star Wars, like everybody knows about. Nacho Libre,
Star Wars is a well thought out, well constructed story across time and space. Nacho Libre is about a friar, correct? Like a priest
Yeah.
who is
Not
played
a
by
priest.
No,
He's not a
he's not a
he-
priest.
who's played by Jack Black.
Yeah.
And is a wrestler
Yeah.
on the side.
Professional wrestler. That's how we should.
Basically,
That's how we should have started this.
the great stories of our time.
This is how we should have started it. You remember back in the day, The Rock, professional wrestling. Also, he would come out and do the promo.
Yep.
And he'd be like, finally,
Yeah.
The Rock has come back. We should have said that. That's how we should have started this. Like, finally, Taylor Geyer has come back to the studio. Everybody cheers. But congratulations.
Woo, thank you very much. No, it's actually very
Tell
exciting.
us about it.
About having another baby. It's exciting, man. It's crazy. So the little one's name is Ava. That's our little daughter. Her name is Ava. She was quite cute when she was born. She, however, was breech, which means that she was facing the wrong directions. Typically, before a baby's born, they will flip so they're head down. So that's how they usually are birthed into the world, head down, and coming feet first is very dangerous for a baby. And so they typically don't like to have a natural birth when it comes to that. So she was breech, so she was already a problem child from the beginning. So when she listens to this in 16 years, I apologize, Ava, for dragging you through the mud on the podcast. But she, it's brought a lot of joy already. It's crazy. So we have another daughter, Sophia, who's about 1.5 years old now, and it was quite the adventure bringing Ava home for the first time. Sophia was genuinely interested in her for the first hour, and then kind of stopped being a little more interested in her. It was fun with her for a while, and then the next day was a little bit more like, hey, why is this one still around? What's going on? Why is this kid still here?
She just give you that look?
A little bit, yeah. And then it was a little bit more kind of testy on our patience, that kind of stuff. And then would always go and check the bassinet that we keep in the living room where we put Ava down. She always goes in there and kind of looks in there now. And we're trying to teach her, no, you can't put your toys in there. No, you can't poke your sister's eyes. No, stop taking your sister's nook out of her mouth. So you got to teach her all those things. But she's gradually becoming more comfortable with her. She looks for her. We're trying to get her to say Ava. The closest we get now is Aya, which is pretty close. Mm-hmm. She's getting there. So yeah, it's been quite the adventure. But I mean, obviously, bringing home a baby brings on new stresses. There's a lot of lack of sleep going on because the baby cries in the middle of the night to be fed. It needs to be rocked. Trying to hold both girls at the same time is fun and challenging, mostly because, you're trying to hold a wiggle worm of Sophia who wants to jump around
it's
and
like wrestling
hit her
an alligator.
sister. Yeah, it's crazy, So, but it's brought a lot of joy. It's a lot of fun. So
I guess
ask your questions.
Yes.
Throw them out there.
So, when you came home, I mean, how is it different the second time as opposed to the first time? Because I have my idea of what it might be like, but I have no idea if that's reality. But, coming home, they send you away from the hospital. You have the second one, and it's you come home, and it's just how's that different than the first one?
What's funny is the first one, you go home, and you kind of sit down with the kid, on the chair or on the couch, and you go, okay, so what do we do now? It's just this, do we just go about our day? Do we do something next with the kid? You kind of have this moment of I don't know what to do next. With the second one, it's more of you almost need to jar yourself out of the routine of just having the one kid, and now you got to get ready for the second one. So it's you bring the second one home, got to introduce her to the new baby, or you got to introduce your first baby to the next baby, and do that whole kind of song and dance there. And then you just do your best to kind of go about your evening as kind of normal, but now having a second baby around. Because they don't do much, newborns, they kind of just lay around, it's so easy. You can put them down in a bassinet or on the floor, and
they'll still be
there. They
there.
won't go anywhere, So you can totally just lay them down. You can gotta do your stuff in the evening, whatever it is. So, I think you gotta kind of mentally prepare yourself a little bit, because the next morning and that night's gonna be different and rough, and it's gonna be a little bit sleep deprived and frustrating sometimes. Honestly, the bringing home a second one was not nearly as scary as bringing home the first one, right? Yeah, you definitely feel
first
a little
time
more
it's
accustomed to it.
The second time's
yep,
we got this.
Yeah, it definitely is a whole different feel where you're I remember how to do these things. You don't remember the exact steps. You're I don't remember. At what point do we do this with the baby? At what point do we try this new thing? So you kind of forget those things, but you have a little bit of muscle memory when it comes to holding the baby, figuring out where to go next and how to do these things. And then you also have family wants to come by and see the baby, and they're always hey, can you guys pick up dinner? And it's hard to make dinner. Yeah, you can pick us up dinner. That sounds great, I've been craving Jimmy John's. Can you bring that over? It sounds really nice, get some free meals. So it's pretty sweet. But yeah, it's been great having a new baby in the house. And it's helped me to reflect more on fatherhood.
There it is.
Did you like that? That
Very
was
good.
Oh god, that was smooth. That was
Wow.
Okay. That was wonderful. I'm just gonna sing my own praises here for a second.
You're really good at that.
Thank you so much. So this episode today is on fatherhood. We're gonna be kind of a part 2. So originally this was supposed to be right after Father's Day, but lo and behold, baby came. So we weren't able to do that. But we're here to reflect more on fatherhood. And we have Father Adam back to help us talk about that because you were here for the first time to talk about fatherhood a little bit more. But if you wouldn't mind, actually, before we jump too deep into fatherhood, can you reflect a little bit now that we did the Kairos year and it's done? So we did a full Kairos year. And could you explain to the good people what is the Kairos year? And then how did it go? Just give us kind of your off-the-cuff reflection on the first year of how it went.
Yeah, off-the-cuff reflection. So first off, what the Kairos year is it's 1 year of priestly formation before we send our guys off to seminary. We give them a good foundation to enter seminary with. So
there you go.
Great. We try to instill in them a regular prayer life. They read the entire Bible. They read the entire catechism, so they have a good foundation in Scripture and doctrine. And they spend a lot of their time kind of detaching from the rest of the world so that they can truly listen to the voice of God. And so they participate in a media fast. So no cell phones, tablets, e-readers, nothing they can articulate with the internet except for a couple of hours on the weekend. And it's
coveted hours on the weekend.
Coveted, yeah. No, they did really good. And so like the first year, a lot of this stuff was new to them, was new to me, was new to the diocese. And I think it went very well. It went about as smooth as you could expect. There were a lot of little tweaks along the way, but one of the things we just
had the pandemic.
Yeah.
The worst.
That's a pretty big tweak.
That was the worst.
We spent 4 weeks in some sort of COVID isolating protocol first semester, and it was really frustrating. And luckily, nobody got it during the time that we were in session, so that was a blessing from the Lord. But it went very well, and I give credit to the guys for their flexibility and for their openness to do what the Lord desired of them. They definitely made my job a lot easier. My job is more of a leading role in this, but they stepped up to the plate and hit home runs. They all grew a lot, and that is because of their docility to the process and their flexibility when things would have to change. These guys just did a really good job of just entering in and not having a ton of expectations of what it's supposed to be like. And, hiccups along the way with all of us. I mean, we all grew. I mean, I grew as much as the guys did in very different ways, but in very necessary ways. And it was all in all, I'd say it was a success.
Yeah.
I would say.
No, I would agree. I mean, from my observation, obviously, I wasn't living with you guys, and like Father Mark was living there with you guys. But I see the guys once a week, sometimes a little bit more than that. I feel like they all grew a lot. There's a lot of change that happened both externally and internally. You can kind of tell the difference there as the year went on. So it's very cool to see the growth that happens there. I don't know, Father Mark, any thoughts on the Kairos year in review?
No, I mean, yeah, I think we learned a lot, as Father Adam said. Just trust the process.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a post game thing. They just trusted the process, and it was good. We came out on top
with the Stanley Cup. You just we gotta move around the ice and. Hit pucks deep, get pucks in the net, and play some hockey.
Yeah. Gotta play better defense.
So we did.
Also better offense. Just gotta win games. Gotta win games. Yeah. So you said that you felt like you kind of grew a little bit over the year. I kind of want you to speak a little more to that in terms of, I think when we first had you on the show, I asked you a little bit more of like, it was the very beginning of the Kairos year. And I'm like, what about fatherhood? How does that speak to your role in formation of these guys and that kind of stuff? So I guess continuing in the theme of looking in review, how has fatherhood been a theme of your year of living with these guys and helping form them? And obviously last time you kind of gave the caveat, like these are grown men. Like I'm not their parent, so you don't have to be their parent. But like, how has fatherhood spoke to your role in this specific instance for the last year as you look back?
Yeah, it's a really deep question.
I told you I was gonna ask you a deep question.
Yeah, you did. Field. Yeah, that was there it is.
There it is. Buckle up, Buttercup.
I guess instead of like how, I mean, particularly like all in all, there were like aspects of my priesthood that definitely grew in more of a fatherly way. And some of them were like just very unexpected ways. For example, at the beginning of the year, I was very focused on doing things right and doing things the best for the sake of the guy, which I think is a very good and natural desire of all fathers, or all types of fatherhood, whether spiritual or material. But it's also incredibly unrealistic because it's totally dependent on the self instead of on God the Father. And so what I learned is, I would say that my role as a father was probably a lot better second semester than it was first semester. First semester, I was just trying to figure out how to do this thing. And then I had some time to reflect after the first semester. And one of the things that came up actually was just like learning to not take certain things, whether within myself or within the guys, so seriously. And there's
like thinking to yourself, this isn't the hill I'm going to die on today kind of a thing.
I mean, there's definitely that, but also realizing that it's like a lot of the growth that we look for in formation and a lot of the growth that we expect of ourselves who have gone through formation and continue to try to conform our life more towards Christ. A lot of it is like, it's a process. It takes time, and God's the one who cultivates that. And it's one of the things where it's like the role of a father in that is to permit God to be the father, and to permit God to be God, and to like pay attention to the way that he's moving you to help a guy out or to not help a guy out, in reference to the Kairos guys, or to act or not to act. And it's one of those things where it's like there were certain times where, yeah, like you said, like it was just like, yeah, this just ain't the hill. Like this is not going to go well. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to keep your mouth shut. It's going to look bad on you. It's going to make it look like you don't know what you're doing. Don't explain yourself. Don't just let it happen. We'll all learn from it, and we'll all be better in the end. It's like, come tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., this whole situation will be over. It's a new day, and we just continue to offer it to the Lord. And so to realize, and like the guys, as they were growing throughout the year, I think kind of learned some of that too, that there's some areas where it's like we need to take it very seriously, and then there's some areas where it's just like, we don't have to sweat the small stuff in this. So like that's one area in which like fatherhood was just kind of growing. Like I noticed that like even within like my own father, like the way he raised me and the way he raised my youngest sibling are very, very different. I shouldn't say very different, but it's like there's definitely like the small stuff with my younger brother just wasn't. It was like they'd be like, yeah, I dealt with this with like 3 other high school boys. Like this isn't a big deal. None of them like were train wrecks. We're fine. Like they're all being okay. It's kind of that.
God bless those older siblings.
Yeah,
I mean, like those older kids, man.
They take the brunt of the hits for you. It's
and
great.
Like this year's Kairos Year kind of did too. It's like they kind of took the brunt of like a very new program.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Me trying to figure this out, them trying to figure this out, the diocese trying to figure it out. I mean, we'd take them to different parishes, and I'd say, all right, guys, prayer after communion. After that, I'm inviting one of you up, and you're talking about what this year is. And people would come up to us and be like, "Oh, that's so nice that you have seminarians." And it's like, sorry, I give everybody who talks gets a Uper voice.
That's good. I like it.
And they're like, "That's so nice to bring seminarians." Like, well, technically, they're not seminarians. It's like this is a year of formation before they enter seminary, and like, so the diocese, like the people of the diocese are like trying to learn, like, okay, what does this mean to have somebody in priestly formation but not have them be a seminarian?
Yeah.
And so like it's new for everyone, and hopefully this year it'll be a little bit more, solidified in the kind of the culture of the diocese.
It does feel like it's going to make a positive kind of cultural impact, though, in terms of like how people view, not only I guess externally from like if you're just a donor, right? If you're kind of looking into praying for the seminarians, like you want to support vocation. I think it'll help kind of contextualize what formation really is for people. So I think a lot of times they think if they see a seminarian that you're going to be a priest, and that's objectively just untrue, right? That doesn't happen all the time. The guys leave for various reasons, and that's not a bad thing. But I think if they can see that there's a year of kind of formation, like it's formal formation, but not as formal as seminary, that kind of helps kind of give that culture of context of like, these are guys who are open to the priesthood, who are taking a year to really enter more deeply into this. And like, now we know that this is kind of just the process of priestly formation is more just kind of communal discernment and prayer. And I also hope that there'll be a new kind of, I brought this up at different meetings too, but I also hope that because of the Kairos year, there'll be a new kind of sense of fraternity amongst the guys who do move on to seminary, because like, I mean, and you guys can speak to it because I was never a seminarian, despite the fact people still think I might be a seminarian. But like the kind of the picture I always got was that when you did get all the seminarians in our diocese together, there were guys who were close because they happened to go to the same seminary. Maybe they knew each other from before seminary, but like there's kind of a sense of that they're not all super close because they never had a lot of time together because guys are in different years of formation. They go on different schools and that kind of stuff. But it seems like with the Kairos year, like they're not all best friends. They don't have to be best friends, but they did grow in fraternity as a brotherhood. And I think that's going to help at least create some new kind of bonds that last past this time too.
Right. Some of the success of the Kairos year won't be known until like 10 years down the line. Yeah. When these guys have been priests for a little bit. If like that brotherhood like persists and continues to grow. And hopefully there'll be a brotherhood amongst like those who have been through the Kairos year. Because I mean, right now, all of the seminarians, besides the guys who were through the Kairos year, got grandfather. They didn't have to do the Kairos year. They were already in seminary. So, like, hopefully there's, like, a fraternity amongst, like, those who have done the Kairos year where it's, like, they've all done something similar. They all came from the same place. It's like they all started, like, square one was a very similar spot for all of them.
Yeah.
And hopefully that helps, helps the presbyterate grow. And then, like, again, as they live out their spiritual fatherhood out in the diocese, they can also be faithful sons under the bishop as well. And so, like, that's kind of the hope with this, too, is that, like, they really understand, like, what it means to be a priest, particularly for the diocese, and how to be a beloved son of not only God the Father, but also a son of the spiritual father of our diocese, the bishop. Yeah. So, and actually, Bishop Ricken, very generous offer, and we're taking him up on it. He wants to teach a class to the guys next year.
Awesome.
So this is, like I said, this is very generous, and it's not usually done.
No.
Like, this shows that, like, he's invested in this.
Yep.
Like, he wants to have a say in these men and their formation, and to begin to cultivate that that understanding of, like, how does somebody who's in formation and how does a priest relate to the bishop? Like, what does that promise of respect and obedience mean? Like, they'll begin to live into that in a way that nobody else in our diocese has ever had the opportunity to live into that.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited about. And actually, it kind of comes at a perfect, like, the days that he's choosing to do it are actually days that I'm not always able to be there. So it's like, it's just
That's
Bishop
incredible,
and the guys.
Yeah.
Which means, like, they have to learn. They're not going to have somebody, like, saying, like, like, shake his hand, like, hang his coat. Like, he's just going to notice these things, and it's going to be, like, him noticing things in this man that is discerning a call to serve in his diocese as a priest. But it's also, like, the man gets to understand in a deeper way that, like, that promise of respect and obedience that he's going to be making. Like, who is he going to be? Like, what is the position of this man? And how, like, they can begin to relate to it in a deeper way.
It seems like that's going to boost Bishop's own kind of identity as father, as spiritual father of the diocese, but in a unique way, too. I was just kind of struck by when you were saying that, is that now these guys, I mean, because, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, when you take a vow of obedience to the bishop, I mean, you're kind of trying to live out that bishop's fatherhood amongst the faithful of the diocese. Like, yes, you have your own fatherhood, right? Like, I mean, you are living that out, but you're also kind of part of his now fatherhood as well. And, like, these guys now get a model of what is the priestly fatherhood, because the bishop is the fullness of the priesthood. And, like, he's in a model fatherhood for these guys who are hoping to possibly be called to be a father in this sense. That's incredible.
It's awesome, because, I mean, it's just, as a priest leading a parish, which we haven't had the experience of, I mean, obviously you want to bring them to Christ. I mean, that's a huge part of it. But, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing to have the leadership of the bishop, that we can say, like, okay, this is the plan, this is the role we're going to hold. Like, we just have that direction, which is a beautiful thing. But just going back a little bit to what Father Adam was saying, there's just, I even go back to the ordination ritual from Saturday, and just, for the order of the priesthood. But entering into that, it is such a huge thing. As they build those ties, those friendships, obviously it's meant to continue on to the priesthood. But I think we have a really good priesthood, a really good presbyterate. I mean, that's not necessarily given across different dioceses. I mean, there's differences of opinions and stuff, but I just think it's a beautiful thing to know that there's that support because, right, sometimes there's this vision that, these parish priests are just kind of lonely old men sitting in the rectory by themselves. Like, is that possible? Yeah, I suppose, but it doesn't have to be. Like, it's just one of those few moments. Like now, Saturday was an example. Is that we don't have a whole lot of opportunity to get together on Saturday that large scale. There are a few of them, but that's one of them is the ordination. So not only are we getting priests together, but we're welcoming one into the hood, the priesthood. You like that?
So
the brotherhood.
That was so lame.
I'll let you know that Bishop is the one that uses that terminology, so I'll be sure to let him know that you said that.
Please do.
Brothers in the hood. Does he not say that?
He does.
You in deep trouble.
That's it, man. Now he's gonna make me a seminarian just to spite me.
He always says he's like, brothers in the hood, Fatima. Brothers in the hood.
That's absolutely incredible. That's
absolutely true. No lies.
So I guess continuing trying to dig deeper into the idea of fatherhood here. So one of the things, as I was preparing for this episode a couple weeks ago now, because this was backtracked a little bit here, I was actually driving down the interstate one day and I saw a billboard ad for fatherhood. I don't know if you guys have seen those or not, but it's actually from the Ad Council, which is a thing like from the government, right? Yep. And so they're doing a campaign, and I think it's been going on for a while to try to help encourage fathers to be more active in their children's lives. And I saw that, I'm like, I kind of want to read about that. So I just looked it up real quick, and this is what they had said on their website. It says 63% of fathers say they spend too little time with their kids. And fathers play a critical role in their children's lives, and having an involved father significantly contributes to happier and healthier children. So I guess in terms of you guys as being fathers, and obviously in the more spiritual sense, but also there's a material sense of fatherhood because you're working with the people that you're called to be father to. How do you guys feel about that in terms of do you feel like the same thing is true within the priesthood fatherhood, that there's a lot of priests who feel that they don't spend enough time with their kids? Because obviously if they're saying 63% of fathers spend too little time with their kids. Do you guys feel the same way about priesthood? Do you guys feel like you guys get bogged down in some of the minutia things once in a while? Or do you think your brother priests struggle with trying to find time to spend time with the people in their parish? Do you think that fatherhood, that there's a similar, not crisis, and I don't think there's a similar crisis in the priesthood in terms of fatherhood, but do you find that there's a similar struggle for priests to find time to be with the people that they are called to be with? Either of you can take that. I know last time you guys played a game where you guys waited for the other one.
Yeah. So I think that there is definitely there's a desire of every priest's heart to spend time with parishioners or their own spiritual children, for lack of a better term. And it's one of those things that a lot of the other demands of an assignment, whether it be parish priesthood, working at the diocese, even priests who work in academia, there is a desire to serve. Yeah. There's a desire to be present to. There's also a desire to get things done. And there's a lot of things in all of the, in all the different areas of priesthood that require us to get a lot of things done. One of the problems that many of us, I'm not going to say all, some priests are that are killing it when it comes to this. They just do such a good job, and I envy them. But being present and loving people, in a filial sense, is the most unproductive thing there is. Because you're just there with them.
I get what
you're
you
just present with them. Yeah. You're not getting anything done. The bills aren't getting paid. The decisions aren't getting made. Yeah. You're just sitting there present with somebody. And that's something that I think a lot of fathers, both married men and priests, really struggle with.
Oh, yeah.
Is that in order to spend time and to be present to someone, that means other stuff isn't getting done.
By definition, right?
And that's very, very irksome to the heart, especially if the heart has been formed to accomplish. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why we have a media fast. Is like these guys can't be sitting there checking their phones. They can't be doing anything done. We have an hour and a half after a holy hour in the morning for the Kairos year where the guys are just meant to, it's just quiet reflection time. They can get their reading done if they want to. They can get a workout in if they want to. Otherwise, it's just kind of spent being with the Lord.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And taking their time, like going for a rosary walk. And it's uncomfortable for the guys at first.
Yeah.
Like they sit there like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything.
It's like Mark's smiling over there.
It's like you're sitting there, it's like, you're not.
Good.
Yeah. You're not doing anything. But I want you to be paying attention to someone. And that's God.
Yeah.
So like part of the way that we have the Kairos year set up is like the morning is really about just receiving from the Lord. We have Mass, we have Holy Hour, we have this quiet reflection time. And then we have class. So the guys are like having to receive from the instructor. And then the afternoon is a bit more about giving of yourself. They have jobs. They have house jobs. They have, working at the Micah Center and helping out with the area homeless population. Going to this past year is going to the high school. This next year they're going to be doing some other stuff, but it's like really giving of yourself like in the afternoon. But it's like you can't give what you don't have, and unless you place yourself in a position to receive, you can't give what you aren't receiving. And being present to and loving people where they're at feels like the most unproductive thing in the world, but that's actually what begins to form the other person. So it's like a father forming his child or a priest forming a future priest. It's like part of that is just what we call a ministry of presence. And that's like a far more noble term for saying like just being with people and not necessarily getting anything done.
It's such a great thing because a great point to bring up because no one's ever asked me, hey, did you spend enough time with your seminarians? Did you spend enough time with your parishioners? People ask, well, did you see my email? Did you call me back?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things nobody really like checks or nobody like, whereas like all those other things, the doing, that's where people are going to be like, hey, did you get this done? The ministry of presence, like no one's going to check on you. You know what I mean? So that's such a beautiful thing, but you have to do it just as much as you got to do the emails, the calls, all that other stuff. So that's a great point.
I guess I'm reflecting a little bit even on my time doing like more active ministry, like with high school students. I mean, like a lot of times people were kind of asking me, well, what are you guys doing right over there? And honestly, it came down to, I spend time with the students, I do that ministry of how'd you say like that?
Ministry of presence.
Ministry of presence. I do the phone calls and the emails and you do all the planning stuff behind the scenes when you have time, but like that was arguably more important. And I remember even being told many times by a lot of my mentors, be interruptible, be willing to put things down and be with the student who wants to talk to you. And I've found that even, obviously my kids are so little yet that like it doesn't really translate too much yet. But even now, like with Sophia, she's obviously more aware. She's walking around. She wants to be by me. And every once in a while I have to teach her she can't be by me the entire time. Daddy has to do some work now, that kind of stuff, right? There are times she can't be by me, but I also can't neglect that time being with her. And it seems like that's, that fatherhood, that's the thing that they're trying to address with the ad council's idea of being present to your children. And like, by definition, it's useless, right? Because it doesn't have a use, and that's the whole point. It doesn't have a use. Not everything has to have a use, and that's a good thing in this context.
Yeah, and like, the thing that like the ad council's pointing out with like, 63% of men, I think it was 63, like wish they spent more time with their kids. Mm-hmm. It's like there's something written within the human heart where it's like a man who has like a mission or something that they have to accomplish in that regard, in this case, like raising a child, like it's written on their heart that they need to do this.
Yeah.
So that's why there's like this sting of regret, is because like this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's written within the heart of like, the child that it's like they're meant to receive or to be in close proximity with their father or their mother or whomever, like their parent.
Yep.
Like that's how we're wired.
Yeah.
That's how we learn. That's how, for better or for worse, that's how we learn.
Yeah.
It's like, you can all probably remember like when you were kids and like you went up by your dad and like he was having a bad day and you didn't know it. And you're just like,
and you're about
hey,
to
Dad,
find out.
Want to throw the football? And like you were just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. It's like when you get like that stern, like no, it's like it resonates within your like. There's a sense of like, oh my gosh, like crap, what I do.
Yeah.
And it's like because you were acting out of a very good and very, very normal place of like wanting to be in close proximity to your father.
Yeah.
In spiritual fatherhood, sometimes the guys just want to be self-sufficient, and you kind of have to just be there and like let them be self-sufficient. Like I said earlier, like these guys are adult men, but they're not priests yet.
Yep.
And they've had a lot of formation from their families, but it's not priestly formation.
Yeah.
And so it's like my job is just to kind of like bring that aspect to it, help them to be a man of virtue, help them to be a man of community, help them to be a man who's trying to form his heart after the heart of Christ, while I myself am trying to allow Christ to form my heart after his heart. So it's like, you know, you're trying to lead by example, but your example isn't necessarily going to resonate with them. And like, it's just a little messier when it's like, God chose the father-child relationship in a family, right? Yep. Like he brought that about. He also brought about like the formatee, for lack of a better word, formator, those in formation. He brought that relationship about, but not necessarily the guys who are discerning like made the choice to discern, but they didn't pick their formator.
Yeah.
And there might be a part of their personality that doesn't resonate well, and they might get along great, but it doesn't matter because like the goal is like permitting the Lord to form us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. No, it seems like, I mean, obviously the fatherhood, I mean, all fatherhood is based on God's fatherhood. And I think that if people can sit with that reality alone, I think that will help kind of put in context what true fatherhood really looks like, because it's supposed to mimic God the Father and his fatherhood towards us. And I think even the idea of us going to God the Father as a child looking to receive something from the Father, I think is probably something that needs to be recovered a lot more, because we can always tap into that biological sense of going to our Father because we want to spend time with him. That not that we need something material from him, except for just being in his presence and being with him. And I think if we can recover that, I think that can help transform spiritual lives for people a huge amount, because now you're not going to God the Father because you're looking for him to give you this one thing because you're praying for it or do this one thing. It's rather going to him because you know that that's where life is and that's where you're supposed to be. And I think that fathers, like the Ad Council was saying, if fathers can come to understand more, we always talk about men being protectors, providers, and leading. And sometimes, though, we have to kind of contextualize what are you providing? And yes, you need to provide financially and materially for your family. That's objectively true, and priesthood all the time for their parishes. But at the end of the day, you also need to be providing like something that's kind of intangible and like just yourself and your time and your love. And that will actually mean a lot more to the people you serve than if you're able to bring home tons of money and gifts and toys for yourself and, like buying boats and vacation homes. And like, those are all good things and they can be fun. But at the end of the day, that's not what a kid needs to be healthy. Like what a kid needs to be healthy is his father, and what you need for a healthy spiritual life is to be with the Father and just being with him.
It's all about relationship.
It's all about relationship. That's a Bishop Felton thing. Relationship. That's what always told me. So, I mean, that's kind of our time here, guys. So I think we should probably be wrapping it up. Father Adam, would you mind closing us in prayer?
Is this one of those left field?
I hope not.
All right, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of being your beloved sons and daughters. We ask that in a special way that you continue to bless each person here, each person who's listening to this podcast. Give them an abundance of the life that you desire to share with them, that you called them into existence to reveal to them. And ultimately, at the end of our lives, may we rejoice with you in heaven. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Well, Father Adam, thank you so much for making time for doing this. Father Mark, thanks for making time as well. Man, we're recording on a different day than usual. I'm back from paternity leave, so it's good to be with you guys again. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening, for your support of the show, for your patience as we waited to record a little bit here. I appreciate that very much. Please leave a review. Send some questions in to quovodpod@gmail.com for when we get Father Girardi back on the show to answer some of your questions. As you celebrate Father's Day, well past the day. May you always be keeping